So I'm Ramanuj. Uh, I'm the CEO of LawSikho, and I see some familiar faces today. So welcome everyone. I'll just pull up my presentation. Class action suits in India, right? What has to change for class action suits to be successful in India? All right. So the presentation is here. We can get started. So why is class action important? Anybody, any idea why is class action an important thing in our country, in India? Anybody has any idea? Any comments on this? Why is class action important? Okay, so class action can be a very powerful way to provide access to justice to the people. Okay, and in a country like India, especially where a lot of people are even below poverty level or really do not have the resources to go to court to enforce their rights, class action suit can be a way to do that. Like, other people stepping in the shoes of people and making filing a case and getting compensation, and then people are getting the compensation. In countries like USA, it has emerged as a mechanism of choice for redressal of the problems that affect a large number of people. So I'll give you an example. Uh, let's say there is a plane crash, okay, and a lot of people who were in that plane got affected, right? So a lawyer might go to the court and uh, you know file a case on behalf of all those clients. And in fact, you don't need the clients on board at that moment. You might be able to file a case and move the motion, and then get people to join you. Clients can come and join later. Even sometimes you get an order already of compensation, and then people are coming and claiming that as per the judgment, right? So sometimes the people who are affected did not even file it before. So I'll explain to you why this becomes important. So recently there was a case. I'll use a more colorful example. So Tinder, right? So Tinder is a dating app, and it has a paid feature, right? So it can ask people that you pay money to get access, to profiles of people whom you might want to date, and then start talking to them. And there are certain features which enable you to talk and get matches and so on, right? So I'm guessing most of you are familiar with Tinder. Anybody who's not familiar with Tinder in the audience? Jagannath is saying it is most effective. And I wonder if you're talking about class action or about Tinder. But anyway, so what happened is that a lot of older people signed up on Tinder in the US, and there was a class action suit on their behalf that older people were like, their profiles were being, if you are above a certain age, then your profiles will be shown to less number of people automatically. So younger people, their profile was shown to more people, and older people automatically they were shown to less people. Now this was a ageism, or like, age based discrimination, and this is not allowed and as per US law. So somebody filed a uh, case against, class action suit against Tinder, and the anybody who had used Tinder in that country or paid money or so on to Tinder were supposed to get a compensation of $20 each. Only $20, not much. See the number, right? $20. But considering it was like hundreds and thousands of people, it was a significant amount, a few millions in a total amount. But the total amount was big, but the amount one person was getting out of it as compensation was only $20, very small. And however, it was a great, it's a good example of justice that company had to pay substantial amount of money, right, as compensation. So they will not engage in such kind of practice. So it's a sufficient deterrence on the company to not follow such practices again. And this is why it's a very good example. And in India, you can think of so many things, right? So if Maggie has more lead in the food, right, you can understand that people who are affected adversely by eating Maggie, might be able to bring a class action suit against Maggie, right? And demand compensation. Now, it is true that each of them might be getting a compensation of, let's say, 1,000 rupees, which is not enough. So one person will never go to court and file a case against Maggie unless they are activists, or they just have a lot of time, a lot of money to go and do this in the court, or they just like the court of law and the process, which is very few people, understandably, right? But the majority of people are not interested in doing such things at all. However, if class action suit was possible, then somebody can go and file a case on behalf of all the other consumers who also suffered, who may not be interested in going to court, but who doesn't like to get compensation, right? If you're getting free money, you will take it as compensation. You don't have to do anything. But this is why, and this is great for lawyers, because lawyers go and file class action suits all the time whenever they get a chance. It is also seen, class action suit in USA is seen as the primary way of part of their democracy, that people can fight back against large corporations. So large corporations have big teams of lawyers, a lot of money, a lot of fighting power. Compared to that, small consumers do not have so much power, right? But when you have class action suits, then people would go and take you, lawyers will take the bank to the court. And how it usually happens in this kind of, class action suits is that lawyers get paid a part of the settlement, or a part of the money that is going to the various, members of the class who are getting paid that $20. Maybe the lawyer is getting paid $1 or $2 out of those $20. So the lawyer is also interested in that whoever is supposed to get the settlement actually claims it and gets it, because they also get their money out of that. Now, this is a very good thing for the lawyer, right? So imagine you go and find something wrong happening, and it may not be big enough that somebody will file a case or for compensation, but you can take, let's say there's a company which is dirtying the groundwater, right? Or a company which is, polluting the air, which is affecting people in this area. Now you can actually take that company to the court and file a class action suit on behalf of all the people who are suffering these negative consequences and claim damage. Okay, so it can really keep companies in check from doing any wrong things. So class action suits, I hope by now you understand that basically, you are filing a case on behalf of a class of people, not only for yourself. So normally you are filing a case for yourself in the court, or where the interest, it's called the locus standi, right? You are filing for yourself. You have suffered a wrong, you can file a case, right? So if there is a contract between me and my friend, right? Let's say my friend Abhyuday and I have a contract, and there is a breach in the contract. Can you go and file a case against Abhyuday that, oh, you breached the contract with Ramanuj, now I'll sue you and file a case against you, right? So the concept of locus standi. So when you have a matter, or let's say, I say I committed a tort against XYZ person, against Abhyuday again, right? Some tort. Can you file a case against me? No, you cannot, because you are not the victim, or you are not the person with cause of action. The cause of action is with Abhyuday, so he can file what you can. But in case of a class action, you are saying that I am not filing for, you don't have a locus standi as such, but you are saying that because law allows you to do so, you are saying that I am going to file a case on behalf of all these people. Now that's very important, right? So that is a class action suit. Now let's see classes that are allowed under class action suits that are possible. So at least Indian law, CPC, the Civil Procedure Code, right? This provides for representation suits in Order 1 Rule 8 of the code, it states that several persons can come together to file a claim when they have a common grievance or interest. So you can see that there is a provision in the CPC to do so, but mostly people don't do. We'll talk about why that is the case, right? Even the Companies Act 2013 provides for a class action suit. There is a provision for this, okay, but it is not used very much. Like, we have never seen it getting used, barely ever. Competition Act 2002, right? Competition law, under section 53N of the competition law, a group of people who have been injured due to a breach in the said law can file an application in front of the NCLT and seek compensation, right? So because if somebody is behaving in an anti-competitive manner, then it is possible that you can go to court, file a case, before NCLT specifically under competition law for and claim compensation. So this is a sign of representation suit, or basically class action suit. Consumer Protection Act, the Act. I apologize, it is not acts. Under the Consumer Protection Act 1986, any consumer could file a about all the interested consumers before the Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission. And there are, I mean, it is possible. Another thing that is possible where a similar concept is a PIL, right? So, public interest litigation, Indian judiciary's invention to grant relief specifically for the marginalized community, which have seen massive popularity over the last 40 years, also provides a possible avenue for class action. And we'll see right after this that there were shareholder class action attempts were made under the courts actually, right? So if we have all these class action suits, then why is it not being taken up by people? Why are people not actually going ahead and filing class action suits? Anybody can guess this? Anybody can guess this? I'm waiting for your responses. No communication or unity between people. Yeah, you can say that. That is actually a good answer, Jagannath. Right? It is a lack. There is a lack of. It's communication between all these people is not always easy, right? Because they are spread out, and how do you bring them together in one platform and agree to do this, and then they have to pay for it? It's not easy, right? Lack of awareness. I wouldn't say lack of awareness. Jagannath is asking about which provision deals with class action in Companies Act. It's section 245, okay, which deals with that. You can read that. See, I don't want to go into section today. I want to discuss about the real issue, why it is not, and what has to be done for it to become prevalent, right? And what is the importance of this? Litigation, finance, and this is one huge issue, right? To file a class action representative suit, who will have to pay for, let's say, the court fee, or who will pay for the lawyer's expense, right? This is the question now. So imagine that in India, you are filing a, let's say you are saying that this company, let's say, polluted our groundwater, which is which is causing massive damage to all the people here. 100 crore loss of 100 crore, 200 crore, 1000 crore. It can be, right? It could be running into those numbers. Now, if you're filing a representative suit like this under the CPC, then who pays? Do you think those 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 20 lakh people are going to come and pay the court fees? Very unlikely, right? Are they going to pay it upfront? And if you're claiming 100 crore compensation, then who's going to pay? If you're claiming even 1 crore compensation, you have to pay the court fee because your suit will be valued accordingly, right? And then there is the cost of actually fighting this case, or even cost of collecting evidence. Do you think collecting this evidence and proving it in the court is easy? There have to be proper scientific research done, proper expenses. There will be a lot of expenses in the whole process. but you need expert evidence. You need experts to come and do proper studying and tell us what happened. Then you need good lawyers to go and fight this case. So all of that is not easy to happen, right? So if people do not have the resources, how are they going to do it? Now, how it is done normally, for example, in the US, is that two things are very much allowed and legal over there. One is litigation finance, the other is contingency fee. In India, litigation finance seems to be legal. There seems to be some Supreme Court judgment which says so. But on the other hand, there are cases in which this has been, litigation finance has been challenged before court. Arbitration awards that came from litigation financing have been challenged, saying that this is against public policy, etc. It is illegal in India, and so on, right? So litigation finance does not really happen in India. There is no real litigation finance options in India, especially for something like class action suits. And contingency fee is clearly not allowed, right? So it amounts to misconduct of an advocate if they are charging contingency fee. What is contingency fee? Where you are taking your fee based on whether you win or your client win or lose, and how much money they are getting in compensation. I am charging a percentage of that. According to Indian legal, profession rules of the legal profession and ethics, this is illegal. This is not allowed. In America, this is very normal, and this is how a lot of people who cannot hire lawyers, cannot go to lawyers, they are able to afford proper legal advice, proper legal litigation and everything through contingency fee and through litigation finance. And in India, these things are not available. And really, it is not possible for class action suit to take off without these things. Then there is the case of confusing legislation also, right? That which one should I go? You may think that, we have so many laws, something will work, right? But it is a big problem actually, that which one should you go under? Should you go under the Consumer Protection Act? Should you go under competition law? In some cases, it is clear you can go under competition law, but then there's a question, should I go to PIL? Should I go do something else? Should I go under Companies Act? And what will happen if I do? All these things are not clear, and people are not really going for this. Even there is a lot of confusion on, if I go under some route, it may not work. Indian courts block the writ petition route. Like there was a time when 𝗖𝗹𝘀𝘀 case was happening, and some of the shareholders of 𝗖𝗹𝘀𝘀 tried to file a class action suit through the PIL route, and it was denied. It was not allowed, right? So, you cannot go through PIL writ petition against private companies. That is what the courts have held so far. But then what should you go under? So definitely, like I talked about, third-party funding is very important. The other thing is we definitely need courts to be a little faster for this, because if you're filing, one reason people don't really go under CPC is because it is so slow. And the same thing can happen even under Consumer Protection Act. When you go to the National Consumer Tribunal, it can be very slow. You are getting one hearing in a year or two hearings in a year, and it can take years, right? So, first of all, without third-party funding, litigation funding, it's going to be very difficult. Now, if somebody is going to do third-party funding, then they need to get their returns in a reasonable time. If it is going to take many, many years or uncertain amount of time, then nobody will fund that cause, okay? Because people want their returns on their investment on a time-bound balance. So you will need faster courts for this to really work, okay? Then there has to be some kind of either contingency fee has to become legal, or there has to be some alternative arrangements, right? So conditional fee arrangements or damages-based agreements, right? This is there in common law system. It's there in many countries. It is there in London, in UK, from where we have borrowed most of our systems. They used to follow this 300 years back, but now they don't. They now very much have embraced litigation funding. They have embraced contingency fee, but we are still, behaving like that. It is still like things at 100 years back, 200 years back, and everything will get destroyed if we introduce these things, and it will be so bad for the legal profession, which is not true actually. If we do this, it will be great for the legal profession because there will be more work for lawyers. When you are making, so what happens when you make foreign investment easy? There are more companies, more commerce, more business. So if you make it easier to go and file a case, if you make it to have the resources to file class action suits or any other kind of things that require funding, contingency, there will be simply way much more work, way much more profit for lawyers. Okay, and that is what has happened. You can see markets like America, Europe, UK. These things have been a source of great lot of work for lawyers, right? So, what is the future of class action suits in India? Let's talk about that. Okay, so class actions are absolutely necessary to enforce corporate governance in the system, increase investor confidence, and help manage the internal affairs better in a typical promoter run business. And this is becoming more and more important because you are not able to see in shareholder disputes, right? You may not be able to control the decisions of the company, but if the company takes a very bad decision or some illogical decision, then your shareholder value is destroyed. Then in places like USA, you can take the management to the court under class action suit, and it has been a very important tool of corporate governance, which is why in Indian company law this was created. But still it has not been actually it is like, we are doing a lip service that it should be there, but in reality nothing is happening. And there are, toothless provision, section 245 in the Companies Act is there, but it is not really anybody else for that matter to the as through class action suits. Okay. Uh, so this is one thing. The other thing I believe that what is very very important is that for people to start filing class action suits in environmental matters will be extremely critical. Like in environmental jurisprudence in India will take off. Environmental law as an area of practice will take off when we have class action suits. Until we have class action suits in India, it will really not be possible. So that was the end of my presentation, guys. And I hope I have introduced you to this topic. It is not really a practice area in India today, but it is possible that it will become it will become something that's very a lot of individuals, and even like I said in the US, class actions would be seen as a pillar of democracy for that matter, and a way to keep capitalism in check, a way for the common public to have a say against the largest corporates in the country, which have trillions of dollars in assets and market cap. So even against such companies, you can take action. So it's very important. All right. So you guys have any questions that I can answer? Happy to do so. Anybody has any questions? Nobody has anything? Strange. Nobody has anything to say? Okay, so I will share one article with all of you guys, right, which should be useful for you if you want to know more about class action suit, understand more about this, get actually these details, right? You can actually get more details about this from here. And I'll also, in case you want to stay in touch with me, Here is my Twitter profile. Stay in touch, and you know that's really everything, right? So, all right. If there are no further questions, all right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. Take care. All the best. Okay, Jagannath, you have a question here. Please ask the question. Go ahead. What is the question? All right. How to convince people to file class action suit? So you don't have, you don't have to convince people to file class action suit. You can go and file on their behalf. That is the whole point. So as long as you can convince the judge that this is a this can be filed, it is good enough. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Take care.